What's going on, DWZ Nation, as we call it here? I'm with my co-host, DWZ underscore Dr. PT on Twitter. How are you doing today, Kyle?
I'm good, Maddie. How are you? Happy Monday.
I'm feeling a little blurry over here, but it was a good week for me in fantasy, so I cannot complain.
Attaboy. I had a good betting week, so I'm not going to complain about that. I might complain about staying up to watch the game last night that didn't end till like 12:30. Oh, it's just me now. This is great.
There we go. I'm not blurry anymore. We're back. How are we doing? Man, this had a couple injuries. Prayers to Neil Gray, dude. I'm praying for him. He lost his man Odell Beckham Jr. He tore his ACL. And this man has Odell ownership in almost 100% of his leagues, I think.
Oh, brutal.
Biggest OBJ fan. He's from Australia, and Pristine Auction does not ship to Australia, so he tried to get me to get an Odell Beckham jersey for him one time on Pristine Auction. So I know how much of a fan he is, and I'm just prayers up to you, Neil. I feel for you, man.
Yeah, that's a bummer for Beckham, but more of a bummer for Neil. I think I like Neil more than I like Beckham. So sorry, Neil.
Yeah, and when he went out, you know who looked good?
Who?
Baker Mayfield and Harrison Bryant.
Yes, 5 TDs from Baker, huh?
Baker was distributing the rock against, I mean, what is a porous defense in the Cincinnati Bengals?
Fair.
But he looked good again, and he looked like the Baker of the past when he was a rookie. I really hope he can continue this because then he becomes startable in a dynasty perspective if he's your QB3. I have him as my QB3 in the league, and he scored more than Patrick Mahomes. I mean, I lost the game because I didn't start Baker.
I'm gonna lose one because I didn't start Herbert. I
Oh,
switched out Herbert for Stafford at the last second.
speaking about last seconds, man. Matt Stafford and TJ Hawkinson. You can get a Hawkamania shirt limited edition at Viridian Global. We're doing a limited edition right now, batch for tight end. What National Tight End Day? We did a Hawkinson shirt. But yeah, that was a fun game to watch as a Lions fan.
For sure.
It was just crazy. Last second finish. It was a classic Stafford game, and you would have rather had Herbert in for fantasy purposes, but it was
Yeah,
fun to watch.
not making that mistake again. But let's get down to it. So we already talked about Odell Bencham, as Maddie has it on the show sheet. Defensive injury of note: Landon Collins, safety for the Washington football team, done for the year with an Achilles injury. That's a bummer. That
hmm
team has enough wins to potentially win the NFC East. So that stinks for them. Doesn't affect fantasy so much. Maybe it affects if you're going to use Washington as a starting defense, but maybe just wait until they play the Cowboys again. And then in that same game, Andy Dalton took a punishing blow to the head. I do you know, was he officially diagnosed with a concussion, Maddie?
Yeah, he was diagnosed with a concussion in the news at least. So he took a huge hit. He got knocked out unconscious, I think, on the field
Yeah,
from what it
yeah.
looked like. And they brought out the card and everything for him. It looked like a bad injury. And prayers to Andy Dalton, man. Nobody wants head injuries, and I feel really bad for people who do get head injuries because as someone who's suffered a concussion before, they suck.
No joke.
So
Yeah. Bones, muscles, ligaments. Okay, but when it comes to the brain, that's not something you want to mess around with.
yeah, you
So
want to
yeah,
keep that.
we're keeping an eye on Andy Dalton this week to see if he's cruising through the concussion protocol. Again, it takes a full week to get through. So if any setbacks, then he'll miss this upcoming week.
Yeah.
Um,
And the Cowboys tried to grab David Blau from the Detroit Lions practice squad, but they activated him to the active roster. So they're going to be stuck with Ben DiNucci, it looks like, if Andy Dalton's out. Ben DiNucci, or I don't know how to say his last name. He's
I
Italian.
think
He's
that's right.
awesome.
Yeah.
But speaking of some concussions, we had some other names on the list. Brashad Perriman from the Jets.
Yep.
He was finally healthy, and he gets knocked out of the game with a concussion. It looks like Denzel Mims' season is in full effect for all you Denzel Mims hivers.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a huge hive on Twitter that loves him. He performed well at the Senior Bowl. He had 7 targets this week. That bodes well for his future. I like Mims. I personally don't have anything against him. Don't have any shares in Dynasty of him because he's too expensive for me.
You're gonna get us
Yeah.
a film breakdown of him over the next month or so.
Yeah, let him get some more offensive snaps, and then I'll make
Yeah,
one.
I like it.
But it'll get copyright struck by the NFL again. It's all good though. I like making them.
They could keep coming
When I
after
make
us.
them,
They won't bring us
exactly.
down.
Whenever I make them, the player seems to break out for some reason. It's maybe that's a trend that we have to follow. Is just start the guys that I break down or something. But
Man.
speaking about breaking down, man, the Bengals offensive line broke down during the game. They lost 3 starters. Don't know how that affects Joe Burrow, because he still distributed the rock pretty well, but he had an interception and a fumble in the game.
Yeah.
So those couple of turnovers definitely lost him the game. But man, Joe Burrow looks so good as a rookie. Him and Herbert, you
Almost
can't
as
go
good
wrong
as
with
Justin
either.
Herbert.
You can't go wrong with either of them. That's what I'm gonna say. I'm not gonna rank them, dude. I'm not gonna rank them anywhere. You did a little retrospective take on Twitter about how to acquire Justin Herbert,
Oh,
and then
that
I
was
was
great.
like retrospective take on Joe Burrow, tank, draft him. And if you have Herbert, you definitely paid less. So
Oh, for sure. Yeah, that felt like I practically got him for free. I'll pat myself on the back for last year was my first season in Dynasty, and I probably heard it on one of the DWZ podcasts about looking at contracts to like follow the money. And I saw early in the season that Tyler Higbee got extended, even though at that point Gerald Everett was the guy in for the Rams. I'm like, I'm just gonna throw him on the back of my roster, and then pops at the end of the season. Flip him in 2 seconds for Justin Herbert straight up. Thanks. See you later.
that's a good trade. I was a big Tyler Higbee stasher myself. I traded him everywhere I had him as well because I usually have Hawkinson on my team.
Yeah.
But speaking of Hawkinson, man, I love Hawkinson. Oh my God, his heroics. I can't stop speaking about it. But we have to move on. I cannot
Yes.
continue to speak about Hawkinson because he did not get injured. Someone who did get hurt was Debo Samuel, a big name, San Francisco wide receiver. He has a hamstring injury and he's expected to miss probably this next week.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunate that they won't have him for Seattle. I mean, the Niners keep winning despite the injuries. I'm not sure what's their record offhand. 5-2, 4-3.
Probably right around there. You're right. I'm sure. The
Which is
49ers
not
have
bad
looked
for
good.
not bad for a team that has not looked healthy as a whole the entire season.
Yeah, and dude, they're a running back like machine. They just pump them out. Jermichael Hasty looked good. Jerick McKinnon got a little bit of rest, according to Kyle Shanahan. He was dealing with a little bit of a rib injury, I believe, so he only got 3 carries. But expect Jerick McKinnon to be back next week. Expect him to get the bulk of the carries and a little bit of Hasty in there as well. That's just my take on it from a fantasy football perspective. If you're discouraged from McKinnon, don't bench him. Keep him in your lineups.
Yeah. Yeah, stash all the Niners running backs you can, because at some point they'll all be relevant or
Yeah.
irrelevant.
Jeff Wilson Jr. just proved that his last week, and I mean he's out too. He's another San Francisco 49er. He went out with a high ankle sprain.
Yeah, likely going to land on the IR, which means he'll be done for at least 3 weeks. So we got McKinnon. I think Tevin Coleman might be back at some point. We'll probably have to touch on the 49ers backfield every time we do this for the next few weeks.
Most likely.
Let's stay with
They
the
need to
running
sod
back
their
here.
grass a little better.
Jeez.
Yeah, let's stick with running backs. What's the next name on our list?
Philip Lindsay looked great, and then concussion. I love Philip Lindsay. I love how he comes in and Royce Freeman's going to be the guy, and Lindsay looks better, and then they bring in Melvin Gordon, and again Lindsay looks better. He just can't stay healthy right now. So hopefully it doesn't sideline him, at all, or not longer than a week, and we could see him gain some momentum down the back half of the season because, he seemed to be the guy in the backfield last night until he went out. But that means stock up for Melvin Gordon and maybe a little bit for Royce Freeman too. And then from the late game last night, both Chris Carson and Kenyon Drake left the game. Carlos Hyde looked decent. Travis Homer looked decent in Carson's absence. I thought Chase Edmonds, even before Drake went out, I was on the Twitter letting everybody know my feelings about Chase Edmonds being better than Kenyon Drake, and then Drake left the game. And I don't think if and when Drake is back, I don't think that's going to be much more than a 50-50 split for him the way Edmonds. I mean, he pass protect. He looks good behind the line. He's great receiving out of the backfield. He's great in the open field. He's a smaller guy, but he doesn't go down easily. So, it's probably too late to acquire him, but if you stashed him, it'll pay off shortly. I think we're waiting on the MRI for Drake, and we'll see what happens as the week progresses.
We'll definitely see what happens with Kenyon Drake. We'll keep an eye on that one. We'll keep you posted. I think that it bodes really well for Chase Edmonds' stock. I think it bodes well for Kyler Murray's stock as well. Kyler Murray, dude, he is a complete stud that we thought he was, man. 4 touchdowns.
I think that was my the first time I watched him, and oh my god, it's like he's playing like a video game. He just does whatever he wants.
He's playing like 11-on-11 football, but it's like 7-on-7 for him. He doesn't care about the defensive line. They're not there to him, dude. They can't touch him. No. He is one of my favorite quarterbacks to own. I drafted him 3rd overall in a dynasty league this year in a startup. It was worth it. I think this year, especially with all these injuries and Michael Thomas and these running backs not performing, if you didn't draft Alvin Kamara in the first round, then you better have taken a quarterback because quarterbacks are the building blocks of your team.
Right. Yeah, all of those first-round guys have been significantly, and then even Zeke, not been injured, but Cowboys suck.
What can he do with his team around him? It's kind of a situation for him there. And then, staying in the NFC, we had the Saints and the Panthers. They didn't have many injuries in their game at all, but they did lose their left tackles. Okung with a leg injury, not sure what it was, but Armstead went out with an arm injury.
Yeah. Not a lot of information on those right now, but definitely something to think about when we're looking ahead to next week because, offensive line is going to impact how we decide the ball or how we decide if we want to throw running backs and wide receivers and yada, yada. Man, I'm rambling. I got no sleep last night. I'm sorry.
I feel that, man.
It was a late night because of that game. I couldn't go to bed without knowing the outcome. And then, I had an early morning too. So I'm sure my 7 o'clock session loved me this morning.
Yeah. And speaking about no sleep, dude, I didn't sleep well either. We had some fun stuff happening with my boys league team where I lost because of Russell Wilson. So I lost some sleep over that. Dude, I got beat, and I was the second highest scorer. It hurts. Deontay Johnson had 15 targets in his game, but he left with a lower leg injury. It looked like an ankle injury. He should be back, right?
Yeah. It sounds like he, after the game, said it was a minor scare, but everything's good, and he should be good to go this upcoming week. So good news for Deontay, bad news for Chase Claypool, good news for Big Ben.
Yeah, it is good news for, I think, Chase Claypool. His value hurts when Deontay Johnson's in because he gets all the targets, it seems. And then another guy who gets a lot of targets, but, not a lot of targets. He gets like 4 to 5 a game, but he turns it into 4 to 5 catches and 100 yards usually, is Tim Patrick, and he left the game with a hamstring injury. I'm not sure if this was because it's just cold and snowing, but, he could be back next week, right?
Yeah. Depending on the severity, let's see if there's anything new up this morning.
Yeah,
he's been great since. He's got an opportunity because of all the injuries in that offense. So
He's been really a really good starter for me in a 14-team league. He's been a league winner for me. I drafted him late, basically last round of the drafts. He, after Cortland Sutton's injury, he's emerged as a wide receiver one there over Jerry Jeudy and other names. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if that's because Jerry Judy's just a rookie, but Tim Patrick's has been a very good, uh, a very good fantasy asset for us owners, similar to Travis Fulgham.
Yes, very, very good comparison. And then a couple other receivers that we have on the list today. D.D. Westbrook had gruesome, I believe, the internet described
He
injury.
cannot catch a break.
I'm not watching that
Catch a
video.
break.
You can't pay me to watch that one.
I won't watch it either, but I did watch it live, so it was. I will not rewatch it. Is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, they fear he tore his ACL. So Monday, we'll get all the MRI results probably by the end of the day, and we'll know tomorrow. Well, we know Odell is very vocal, so we already know about Odell. I guess DD is not following in Odell's footsteps with tweeting and texting Josina Bell or Josina Anderson. Stefan Bell is the Bell. I digress. Yeah, so DD Westbrook potentially season over. Not a lot. Nobody's really looked good in that offense. Aside from James Robinson, Minshew, I think, put up reasonable stats yesterday, but for whatever reason, him and Chark have, Chark's getting targets, but they're not connecting on a lot of them. The little I watched from that game, there's some very questionable throws from Minshew. I hate to say it, but I think Memphis was right about Minshew. I'm hoping my window to sell him is not closed yet, but it's like that open.
I listened to all of Memphis's advice he gives me, man, and I got out from under all of my Minshew shares. For one Minshew share, I got T. Higgins. For another one, I got a first, I believe, and it's just been like I moved him at the start of the season after a couple good games, and I was like, I'm gonna move him because they are not winning him. He's just playing well, like he's getting garbage time stats, and that's kind of like what Kirk Cousins does. Well, and he's just getting some good yards in garbage time. And speaking about garbage time, the 49ers versus the New England Patriots, that was a garbage time game to watch. If you watched it, Cam threw 3 picks, almost completely taking his team out of the game. And you know who went out of the game? And N'Keal Harry, their first-round pick last year with a head injury.
Yeah, I don't know at what point it's okay to label a guy a bust, but it's feeling like Harry is not living up to his draft capital.
Scary Harry, man.
Is it so?
Reasons.
Let's just talk. Is it N'Keal or N'Keal, or do we not know?
I will not try to pronounce it correctly, but I just go N'Keal.
Yeah. Okay. 6-1.
Don't know if that's correct.
Doesn't matter. He's not. He's got Cam Newton and then Jarrett Stidham's throwing him the ball now, so it doesn't matter.
He's not fantasy relevant in my opinion. I'd have Tim Patrick over him. I'd have Travis Fulgham over him. I'd have other names over him. But for Dynasty, you might as well try to buy him because this is his lowest price he'll be if he pops. So he might be a good buy right now for Dynasty purposes. That's a little Dynasty nugget there for you.
Yeah, he's only in his second year. He was a first-round pick, right? So he's got at least 2 years under contract, potentially 3 if they pick up his 5th year. So he's not going to disappear anytime soon.
And exactly why it's the time to buy because he's not disappearing. He's very athletic. He can jump out of the gym. He was a wide receiver 1 in Arizona State even though they had Brandon Ayuk who's popping in the NFL. I like the choice to buy N'Keal Harry low if you can, but I'm sure the owner's just going to sit on him for now.
Yeah. I mean, they have him. If they have him, they know why they have him. So you're probably
and
not
they probably drafted him high. Yeah.
But oh, never mind. Why did I think Antonio Brown was like?
He's suspended still.
No, I was gonna say, it's good to wait on guys like N'Keal Harry because he could be one of those guys who's like a 3rd or 4th year breakout. And I thought Antonio Brown he had a pretty trash rookie season. But he actually had 1,100 yards his sophomore year, only 2 touchdowns. Yeah. And then his 3rd season, he only had 780. And then after that, it was 4th season through 10th season, just ripped off 100 receptions and 1,200 yards or more over and over and over.
Here's a little Antonio Brown for you. Go get Quintez Cephas from Detroit Lions. Go get him. Go get him now if you can. He is good. He played for Kenny Galladay when he was injured, and he was able to run routes well. That's what I have to say about that.
All right. On it.
And that's our injury report for week 7. There wasn't too many names, thankfully. There was some big names on the list, but like Odell Beckham. But fingers crossed for week 8. Hopefully there's no injuries. That would be amazing. That would be a first. It just feels like there's been a long list, and this one's only like 10 names, thankfully.
Yeah, Friday our list was like scroll.
Yeah. And, on Friday, we'll release another one. If there's any Monday Night Football games, we'll tweet about it in the injuries in the Monday Night Football games. But, another thing that happened this weekend was Tennessee. I just want to say, we touched on this. Tennessee's left tackle, Taylor Lewan, went out with injury, and they had a lot of pressure going to Ryan Tannehill, and he did not perform as well as he's used to. We just saw Ryan Tannehill, not Ryan Tannehill. So, yeah, injuries to offensive linemen do have a big impact on the game. So that's why we do touch on them here. We think they're important. Offensive line matters. So that's what I'm going to leave you with. I was going to say offensive line lives matter. But that's my little brother's T-shirt he has because he played right tackle in high school.
That's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. You got anything else for us? Any people we should be buying, stashing? I guess you'll do your Flexmeister at some point this week.
Yeah, so I'm gonna hop on the Flexmeister and give you guys some names to buy, but I'll give you one right now. If you can still acquire him for cheap, Cole Beasley. He's been beastly this year. He had over 100 yards, I believe, this last week. He had caught every target, I think. 11 catches on 12 targets or something. He's Josh Allen's guy. With John Brown being injured with his knee, it's Cole Beasley season. So that's what I'm going to leave you guys with. So go get yourself some Cole Beasley. Go get yourself some coffee. Wake up, It's
I'm getting coffee.
I'm talking to you, Kyle.
I'm getting coffee.
Sleep, man. So, yeah, that's what we're going to leave you with, and hope you have a great week, and we'll see you Friday.